Well, I had a pretty torrid first week, didn't I? Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week 2 of the TSGW BattleBots Prediction League Tournament, call it what you will. Week 2, episode 1 was fantastic. I did very badly. I only got 3 fights right out of 8, and you, the audience at home, got 6 out of 8 correct. The fights and their results and the scores, there should be a little graphic on screen right now. And yeah, don't forget, remember, if you are part of the audience, you can vote down below. There's a Google poll with all the fights this week, and that will tally your scores together and we'll get an audience prediction, and then you can keep extending that lead against me. So remember, it's very important, if you're watching this video, please go and vote in the poll down below, because then we can have a good old competition and I can continue probably to get battered by you. So I of course once again do not know what the fight card is, so you're going to get my reactions to it, my on the moment reactions. I know what the main event is, but I don't know what any of the other fights are, so we're going to have a quick look and we're going to get my live reaction once again. So this is the fight card. Interesting. Some difficult ones here. Interesting. Very interesting. Right, let's get straight into it and predict our first fight, which is Yeti versus MadCatz. Yeti have taken a year away. A couple of years away, if I remember correctly. I really liked Yeti back you know, season 2 is when I really remember it. I think season 3 had a bit of a wobble, but season 2 I really remember it, just the pure aggression going into fights. And MadCatz, who has been fabulous, it was doing really well last season. One of my favourite teams in terms of the way they approach things. You know, it's smack talk, but you know, it's very much like comedy. You know, it's not taking themselves too seriously, but at the same time, you know, you always need someone who's just a bit of a loudmouth. You know, someone you want to knock down a peg. Who do I think will win between MadCatz and Yeti is a different matter. Yeti's had quite a few new upgrades. I think Christian Karlberg of various robotic fame, Overdrive, oh, the one that spins around, I'm rubbish with names. He's been helping with the build of Yeti, so I'm intrigued to see what they bring to the table. What I'm thinking is, will that plow of MadCatz be able to deflect the blows of Yeti's spinning drum? I think Yeti might get a win here. I'm going to go for Yeti. I just think sometimes MadCatz does not hold up to being bashed around a bit. I think MadCatz is a fantastic robot, but you know, I just think Yeti is going to have. It's always been a robot that just keeps going and going and going and going. And I think Yeti's staying power is better than MadCatz's, so I'm going to go for Yeti, and I think it might go to the judges, but if not, if it's a knockout, I think it's definitely going to be Yeti. If it goes to the judges, I think probably Yeti. So we're going to go for Yeti. Next up is Defender versus Ribot. Now, Ribot is our favourite froggy friend. They've been doing very well in the last few years. They've really stepped up, I think, from sort of joke entry to sort of robot, you know, that on its day, you know, could go all the way and win it. I think they'll have brought some significant upgrades. I think they always do. As for Defender, I've never seen Defender before in my life. It looks like a sort of clamp bot. It's got 2 wheels either side, a sort of front fork, and a jaw. I think who wins this fight completely depends on, well, A, how good Defender is as a robot. You know, if it barely works, then it's going to die, isn't it? And with newcomers, a lot of the time we don't know how it's going to withstand the box. But I think also what the result will be will depend on what attachment Ribot uses. You know, they have the vert, they have the horizontal. You know, if they use the vert, maybe they'll just get clamped onto and sort of driven around the box. I would suspect they will probably go for the for what's pictured on screen here, which is the horizontal spinner, the sort of undercutter one. And I think they will knock lumps off of Defender. I think Ribot will win that. But you know, newcomers, you never know. They always have the potential to mix it up. You know, Switchback is a perfect example last week. I mean, I know Gruff won in the end, but Switchback did put up a fantastic fight, and a much better fight than I thought it was going to put up. But I'm going to go for Ribot. I'm going to go for the tried and tested method. Next fight is Hijinks versus Mammoth. So it's a very wide robot against a very tall and wide and just massive robot. Who do I think will win? I have a serious habit of underrating Mammoth. I didn't rate it. I think very rarely have I predicted it to win a fight, and every time it shocks me, it surprises me. And last season, it was a complete and utter bracket buster, defeating Copperhead, I believe, in the round of 32. As for Hijinks, newcomer last year, I don't think we've seen nearly. I don't remember seeing nearly enough of Hijinks. I think they were. I remember the team. I remember the robot. I just can't remember any of its fights, and I feel really bad about that. And that's probably why I only have 3 points so far out of a possible 8, because I don't remember half the robots half the time. I really have no idea who's going to win this fight. I really do have absolutely no idea. Wow. You know what? We'll go for, I think, what would be considered the shock. I'm going to go for Hijinks. I'm going to not rate Mammoth once again, which is probably going to be to my problem. I'm probably going to get this wrong. This is the hardest fight so far. It might even, I think, be the hardest fight to predict on the card. Yes, I think it might just be the hardest fight to predict on the card. But I think Hijinks can. Do I think Hijinks can? If Mammoth primarily tosses, so if Mammoth can toss Hijinks around, then maybe. But can Mammoth get a knockout anymore? Because a lot of the time, or some of the knockouts, were into the postage stamp sort of area in the side of the arena. Do I think they can do that to Hijinks? Well, no, because there's no, you know, out of the arena anymore. Pardon me. I'm going to go for Hijinks, and I think they're going to damage the wheels. That's all I can say. Honestly, that one, I have no idea. I'm completely stumped. I'm going to go for Hijinks. Now, this is a good fight. This is midway through the episode, and they're always quite good. I think they call them the mid-card madness, or something like that. I think that's what they originally called. They might not be anymore. But it is Kraken against Rotator. I love Kraken. I really do love Kraken. I think that's some really awesome fights in the past. I also really like Rotator, despite the fact that it's no longer really makes sense, its name, because it only really uses one disc, and I think they've gone for that again this season, looking at the picture. Who do I think will win this fight? I think Rotator. I just think Kraken will just get beaten, is the thing. I just think that it struggles against spinners. Although it beat, I think it beat Witch Doctor, didn't it? But I think Rotator is. The thing is, if you can get onto Rotator, depending on how strong the armor is on the top, it can pierce through it. Like he did against Ribot. But I think Rotator will have something to combat Kraken, and I think they'll cause a lot of damage to Kraken. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go for Rotator. Now this might be the easiest fight to predict on the fight card. It is Rusty versus Blip. Blip is a new machine from the people who brought us Tantrum. It's a flipper. I love flippers. And Rusty, of course, is returning for another year. A year where it won a fight and everyone loves it, and I love Rusty. I think we always need robots like Rusty in the competition. Do I think it will beat Blip? No, not a cat in hell's chance. Blip is going to toss Rusty around the arena and win the fight quite comfortably. So that's Blip for me. Right, our third from last fight is Tantrum versus Malice. So we've had Blip in the last fight. We'll have Tantrum straight after, and they're taking on Malice, who surprised me. I thought Malice were okay last season, and Tantrum obviously was a semi-finalist. So this is an interesting fight. I think Tantrum is going to win this one. I like Malice, but I think Tantrum with that front, we've seen it can withstand spinners fairly well, and I just think even if the weapon on Tantrum goes, it's got the shoving ability. It might struggle more if it goes to the judges, but I think they can be aggressive enough that if it does, they can ram Malice around, and maybe the weapon chain will come off Malice, the belt or something like that. And I think that will see Tantrum get the win over Malice. Like last week, we are going to go YouTube exclusive, then main event. So YouTube exclusive, what a tasty fight for the YouTube exclusive. It's SubZero versus Shatter, a classic flipper versus hammer fight. SubZero has always struggled to get going in these competitions, I feel, but it's got potential. It sort of reminds me of it's like a mini Bronco, really. And I will always go for flippers. I'll always want flippers to do well. But also I love Shatter. I love hammers. In a battle box that's dominated by vertical spinners and horizontal spinners, it's very nice to have some alternative weapons and some alternative clashes. What I will say though is that because of the design of the battle box, I think a knockout is very difficult in this scenario. SubZero can throw over Shatter. I'm fairly sure Shatter can self-right. Shatter can land blows on SubZero, and sure, SubZero can break down, but if it's got top armor that will deflect Shatter's attacks, then there's very little either robot can do for each other. Then it will go to the judges. And who I think will win this fight is probably Shatter. I think it's got more KO potential than SubZero. I think if it goes to the judges, Shatter will win because of damage and being aggressive. So I just think the odds are stacked against SubZero here. It has to get a knockout, really, if it's going to win. And I just think the KO potential from SubZero is a lot less towards Shatter than the KO potential for Shatter towards SubZero. In that reality, a judge's decision I think is more likely to go Shatter's way as well. So playing the probability game, I'm going to go for Shatter. The main event. I knew this was the main event. It is Bloodsport against Whiplash. Whiplash, of course, the runners-up from last season, so the default second seeds against Bloodsport, who at one point were looking odds-on to win the title. They have a very punishing sort of top blade, very capable of KOs. But do I think they can beat Whiplash? I used to always say that Whiplash was going to lose. I don't think I ever really truly appreciated how good Whiplash was as a robot. And you know what? In some respects, its design isn't that great. It is driven, though, phenomenally, and he gets the most out of that design. Matty Vasquez gets the most out of that design he possibly can. And he was one fight away from winning the title last season. And I think Whiplash will always end up up there. And when they lose, they will lose to a phenomenal robot that is either more powerful or better driven. Whoever Whiplash loses to, eventually when they get to the bracket, I would consider odds on to win the entire thing. And Bloodsport has to beat them to sort of lay down a marker. Do I think they'll beat them? They have the potential to cause really punishing damage, but I think Whiplash are going to have some pretty tasty wedges to put on, and I trust Matty Vasquez to keep his robot on the straight and narrow, to deflect the shots from Bloodsport, and just outthink and outmaneuver Bloodsport. I think I'm going to go for Whiplash. For once, I am actually going to go for Whiplash. We'll see if that comes back to bite me in the ass, but we'll see. So, that is all of my predictions. Please go and vote for who you think is going to win in the description. There is a Google Doc, and you can be part of the audience score. Remember, it's currently 6-3 to the audience going into week 2. Will you beat me a second time, or will I beat the audience and continue predicting semi-decently? I mean, I predicted horribly last week, so I don't know what I'm saying. But you guys can carry on predicting very well. I mean, 6 out of 8 is not bad. The only 2 you got wrong were Uppercut versus Gigabyte and Tombstone versus Captain Shredderator. But let's be honest, who got Tombstone versus Captain Shredderator right? What a fight. But yeah, please go and vote in the description. Go and check out my other stuff. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next week to predict the next fight card on BattleBots. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.